Hi friends, Shaina Bilow here. In today's video, I'm going to demonstrate how to take out your knitting stitch by stitch, also known in the knitting world as tinking, T-I-N-K, which is the word knit backwards. So the first thing we'll do is I'll show you just quickly how to do it, and then we'll get into the nitty-gritty if you want to dive deeper with me. So to unknit or to tink, what you're going to do is insert your left hand needle into the loop that's resting below the stitch on the right hand needle from front to back, like so. So you'll notice I kind of hold this yarn up and out of the way, holding it here on my left hand. I'm going to insert my left needle tip straight into the stitch below the one that's sitting on the right hand needle, and then once I have that stitch securely on my left hand needle, I can let go of the stitch that had been on the right hand needle. That is tinking, folks. Putting your left hand needle into the stitch beneath the one that you want to remove from the right hand needle. Now, I was just tinking over stockinette stitches, so my fabric was pretty clear here. When you get into other stitch patterns, the stitch might be a little trickier to find, but it still exists. We still have all these links. So right here is where we're inserting in a purl stitch. That is tinking. Stay tuned and I'll show you the why of how this works. Here we are. As we dive a little deeper into what we're doing when we're tinking, I actually want to remind you what happens when we knit. So I attached this pink yarn here so that you could see the difference between the row that's sitting on my left hand needle and the row that's coming up on the right hand needle. So to refresh your memory, when you knit, you're going into the stitch that's on the left hand needle, creating a new stitch onto the right hand needle here, whether it's knit or purl. You're bringing that new stitch out, and then once you have this stitch here on the right hand needle, you can then discard the stitch that was sitting on the left hand needle. So it stands to reason that if we want to unknit these stitches, the goal would be to get this blue stitch back to where it had been on the left hand needle. So again, I'm going into this blue stitch, creating a new stitch on the right hand needle, there it is, and then getting rid of the stitch that was on the left. So let's say I look at my work and I see down here that I've accidentally made a little bit of a yarn over. My yarn wasn't in the right position when I was switching from knit to purl or purl to knit or what have you. So I want to get back to that spot and correct this, because that would become an unattractive hole on the next row. So I am going to tink. So my needle is going to go into the left edge of the blue stitch here. And as soon as I have secured that stitch from the previous row on the left hand needle, I can then take out the stitch from the row that I was working on, the one that's pink. So into the left edge from front to back. So my needle is coming straight down the stitch from the front to the back, so that when my previous stitch comes onto the left hand needle here, it's sitting in the conventional way and I can work it the same way I normally would on the next row. And now what I've also done here is I've worked in a couple purl stitches just so you can see that again. I know we quickly covered it at the beginning of this video, but here we go. I'm going into just this blue stitch here. So whether you have knits or purls in your fabric, every stitch has this same structure of being a little bit of a loop. And so what we're doing here is we're just looking for that loop that used to be on the left hand needle. We're looking for those two legs that make up a stitch, and we're inserting our needle in between the two so that the stitch ends up on the left-hand needle. Another thing I like to do, if you've noticed me doing this, I'm holding my working yarn up and out of the way. I find that if I let the yarn dangle like that, it can sometimes get a little bit tangled up in the needle. It also makes it a little easier to see my stitch if I pull the other stitch out of the way. So I have an easier time locating the stitch beneath this one if I hold that pink yarn, the working yarn, out of the way. So here we are, I'm at that stitch that was problematic, and I've tinked all the way to there. So what happened here was I had purled a stitch and then I went to knit, but I didn't move the yarn between the needles. So now I am ready to continue my row. Happy knitting!